We focused on the state of the nation this morning, and we're joined from Abuja studios by Dr. Junaid Mohammed as we take a look at the state of the nation. Morning, and thank you for joining us. Taking a look at lots of political developments in the country. The latest, one of the most recent one was that court verdict where it turned out that the court decided that the president can run for 2015 elections. You've got some views about that as well. And then the PDP, the APC, so much going on. What particularly interests you in all of this development, Dr. Mohammed?
Well, I mean, the connection between you and me isn't very good. By the way, good morning and thank you for having me. But the connection is not particularly good. But I don't know what to make out of the last question you put across. So is it possible for you to repeat it?
Well, let's start off with the merger of the APC. How do you see that playing out?
Well, I am not an insider in the merger, but I will talk in general terms. I think the merger is important not only for the parties which are participating in the merger talks. I think the merger, if it's pulled off, and I put emphasis on if, and when it's pulled off, I think may possibly transform the politics of this country for the better, hopefully. But that is not to say that there are no difficulties ahead. There are major difficulties. Some of the difficulties have to do with the personalities involved. Some of the difficulties have to do with the expectations, both from those who are participating and individuals' ambitions which are bound to clash, and also from Nigerians generally, because I think people are generally, as it were, pissed off with the way the affairs of this country have been run from 1999 to date, and they're looking forward for some miracle or for some fix. I don't know if that were going to be possible, but I generally welcome the initiative, and I hope it is going to end up into something that will reduce the number of mushroom parties in the country and also make it possible for the country to have a more stable political party system that allows for transfer of power from one elite group to another, without the intervening mayhem which has characterized our democracy 1999, 2003, 2007 and 11.
Well, there was also a court judgment last week. Those are part of the activities that have been happening on the political terrain when the court did rule that President Goodluck Jonathan can run for a second term if he so pleases. What do you make of it?
Well, Madam, thank you, and glad to once again make your acquaintance on television. Now, I am aware of the court judgment, and frankly speaking, I was not surprised. I wasn't surprised because there was something funny or phony about everything about that case. Firstly, the man who took the matter to court, in my view, is a non-lawyer, I'm not a lawyer as you know, had absolutely no locus. And we learned that the hard way when sometime last year we formally announced that our group, the concerned northern politicians, businessmen, and what have you group, decided we are going to join Mr. Njoku in that court case. And we sought legal advice on the wisdom of joining him in that case. And of course, we also took some hard political decision to see whether it was possible, it was reasonable, and whether actually he was for real. And the conclusion we had was that there was something funny about him and that he had absolutely no locus. So our lawyers advised us that it would not be in our interest to join him. Now, be that it may, we followed the case very closely. And when the judge gave the judgment the way he did, and being familiar with the Nigerian judiciary, in spite of recent positive developments, we are not entirely surprised. But my understanding of what the Constitution said, and it's still the extant situation now, it is the Supreme Court that has the ultimate and final say on these matters. And no amount of cooking up, beginning at any lower court, can actually let people pass off a very fundamental issue of interpretation of the Constitution. So I look forward to the time when the Supreme Court of this country will actually pronounce on the issues which are at stake. And don't forget the fact that in the past, the Supreme Court has given similar judgments as regards the election of governors and what have you. And I hope that when the time comes, courage, decency will prevail, and that the judgment will be given on the merits and the facts and what the Constitution said and what the Constitution framers had anticipated, rather than the convenience of the party in power or the convenience of the president or the personal individuals or people who are advising him.
Dr. Mohammed, it does seem like you do not agree with the court, even though the judge took great pains to explain the reason for his judgment. He did say something about the president taking over acting capacity in no by-election being conducted. It was following the Constitution that's how the president did take over. You do not agree with the explanation. He also did say, so he talked about the local stana of the person who had come to court, and he also talked about the prematureness or otherwise of the case, saying that the primaries hadn't even been run in the party. They were 2 years away from election year, and he doesn't understand why this is a subject for, you know, a court matter right now. You do not agree with the judge?
No, I don't, frankly speaking. And I mean, sometimes after reading bits and pieces of the judgment, I was under the impression that perhaps the judge was not living in this country on, you know, he may be living somewhere in parallel planet. For all I care, anybody who has been living in Nigeria knows that from the time President Goodluck was elected till today, he has taken a lot less time minding the mandate he was allegedly handed over by people of this country and by the legal system. He has rather wasted a lot more time, he and his surrogates and people around him, in planning how they can stage the comeback come 2015. So if the judge doesn't know that, or he decided not to take judicial notice of what Nigerians have been witnessing and everybody has been commenting about, then I suspect the judge must be living in a different planet, not on the planet we are living, and not in the geographical space we call Nigeria. For all I care, I find the reasons completely unconvincing, and in fact, I don't want to be uncharitable to a sitting judge, but frankly speaking, I have other reasons also not to respect or agree with the judgment, but these are not for, for this kind of airing on television. But I don't agree at all.